Good day and good evening, and welcome back to the mount farming stream. I reset the router. If it's still bugging out, then it's not my router's fault. At the very least, it's not the router's fault. It can be something else, but it's not the router's fault, and it might be something that is just out of my control. But I've tried. We've tried one thing, and if that doesn't work, then I'm all out of ideas that can at least fix it tonight. It went pretty smoothly as well. I felt like previously when I've done like a second stream on the same day that sometimes the chat box kind of bugs out. That it doesn't want, like the one in the stream itself doesn't want to switch properly. But it worked out this time. Right, let's see here. We are still 7. It was Aradilla that I was missing. Also, Bay again, Ogni, and Fatman, and But Steelcat, Vince, Tristan, Delane, Agent Monica. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're still doing well, or that you're doing well if you just tuned in. Hey, Gireen. Just checking with the people that are in the party. Does anyone already have the mount? Hey, Saras. Hope you're still also doing well still. And Exoda. Frontline mount farming. No. Savage. Wait, frontline? Which mount would that be, Exoda? There are many. I have Oppressor. I have the horses. Something else? No, we're doing Savage Mount Farm. 1 for 100 wins. Is it one of these? It's a different one? Anyway, that aside, it does look like we're slightly more than we need, so it might just be that we will do like an extra one given how quickly we're doing this. I do think we need Sip to go back to healer and not be a bard. Yeah, I don't know how quickly it'll go with E8S either. I also have a feeling that E12 will take a lot longer because... oh, whoops. Wrong raid. If we just go to the next expansion real quick, it's easy, right? I'm simply not interested enough in PvP to farm something that requires like 100 wins or something like that.
I call upon the power of Shiva.
Time to shoot me in the face. I do have to say, this was not her brightest moment. Just a opinion. Not her brightest moment. That's true, Ceres. That is true.
No! She's lost control! You've got to stop her!
Thank you, Ardell. Shiva has the same face as Reen. Dunk. What? No way. We'll see how many, like, the part of the reason why I didn't bother looking up the strategy is also because I'm very curious how much we'll actually see. Like, if none of the fight is actually happening, then it would be wasteful of me to sit there and watch through a guide or something just for nothing, right? We'll see if there's a mechanic getting in the way, and then we'll take it from there. And that sounds like a raid wide. Halfway there, she's doing mirror mirror.
The light shall usher in peace.
Did she just change her mind? I think she changed her mind. I guess the light shall not. We have to split in even groups. Approximately.
Tranquility must be restored to the land.
The forced intermission after Savage Mounts was next on the list. We'll see. It'll probably be extremes or something. Oh. Oh, you can only take one. Team 2 is not doing super hot. I think we need 2 healers. Yeah. Well. Someone other than me has to take this, actually. Never mind. We need 2 healers and no tanks. Well, I mean, we can use a tank just the same. Rust is the reason why you're asking to be healer is because, like what's your healer option? Also 90. In that case, you should probably be Ceres who goes healer. Perhaps Mora can be a second healer. I don't think I had enough healing. Need 2 healers and no tanks for max DPS. I'll go tank, and then if we determine that we don't need it at all, I might just go DPS and we just let chaos reign. In retrospect, Light Party 1 ended up being a balanced group. Light Party 2 turned out to be just, oops, 4 DPS. Did the stream die? No, if you check the last bit on the previous stream, FFXIV, there were massive frame drop issues, so I had to restart my router. And that seems to have stabilized it, knock on wood and all that. But because I have to restart it, it takes so long for that to happen that by the time I can reconnect, YouTube will already have been like, nah, this stream is abandoned. And then just close it. The stream was manually ended early so that we could fix something. Yeah, on the one hand, I'm glad that that seems to have fixed it. On the other hand, it's really annoying because that means that I have to very frequently, like regularly reboot my router these days for some reason. Alright then. Like, if that's what it takes. Good luck, Kylan. That sounds like a big project. Fools. Fools.
The light shall usher in peace. Tranquility must be restored.
Important to note, Fim, that I have a decently priced Asus router. I don't just have one that has just been handed to me. Exactly because those kind of things are kind of bad. But I don't have the technical know-how to build one myself. So we'll kind of have to just deal with it. And it has been working fine. For years. It's a recent problem. Wow. That is doing a lot of damage. I don't think it should be near. Is it an... Isn't it? It is an AoE, so... nice. I hope we don't need to take 4 of those. Or I hope they don't kill. Yeah, the reason why I took that much damage, Rust, was because you were standing next to Cat. And they took theirs. Did you just instantly kill all of them with Azai's? Oh boy, cutscene!
My love.
I guess these are going to take a lot longer then. Mandatory intermission, mandatory cutscene.
At long last, we are reunited.
Given how much damage those bursts were doing in the intermission, I think they might be percentage based, possibly.
And we shall never be parted again.
Wow, kinda green hair? Kinda green? Exactly, Captain Madrid. It looks like they're doing so perfectly just about 50%. Whoa! That is also a lot of damage. I guess I should have invulned that. On the other hand, we could probably have skipped it if I had been a DPS. I wonder if we should try that. I don't think it would change much in the clear speed. Oh look, I'm standing! I'm fine, guys! Look, I'm okay. I didn't die. I'm totally alive. Do you not have auto cutscene skip turned on? Yes, I do, but only for cutscenes that you haven't seen. I don't think I turn it on for cutscenes you haven't seen. Like, I haven't cleared this before. use of my tank buster squashing has been greatly exaggerated. Yeah. I could try as DPS, I guess. I'm not sure. I feel like it's more. It doesn't really. It won't change much. And if you actually get to that tank buster without a tank to take some hits, then it might be a problem. Don't think that's a tank buster. Do you think it's a stack? It might be a stack. Archmon has a tendency to be a stack.
Fools. You would
Sorry for what, Aradel? Hmm? I mean, we could just try and do it like a stack. See how much damage it does. I could also just use Holmgang. I think I'll just use Holmgang. Mirror, mirror. The mechanic that doesn't happen.
Shall usher in peace.
The light shall usher in, never mind. Uneven? Who was on my side last time? Never mind.
Tranquility must be restored to the land.
You got stunned. Ah. Yep. Remember that the soak things are AoE, so don't stand near the ones soaking. Will you try out the new ultimate when it comes out? I haven't finished the current Savage, so probably not. Oh man. Wow. The big damage. 2 light party stacks for the Archmon? Hmm. Oh yeah, we already discovered that you can survive an extra one because Rust survived it over on our side. 50% of current HP? That's interesting.
my love.
Well, it is difficult, Exeter, because we would, like, to actually be properly ready in time, we would need to clear M4S, like, 8 times before the ultimate comes out. So that puts a much stronger strain. We'd have to do it, like, we'd basically have to beat it 2 months in advance. Which is, already quite a tall ask. But yeah, I don't know if that's something we'll do. I don't think it'll be something that we'll do. What? Only 3 hits? 8 deaths in. Hope you're doing well. I think maybe we'll jump into doing an old ultimate or something one day. But for now, we're just doing some Savage on Saturdays and such. And sometimes Fridays. Tranquility must be restored to the land.
Fools, you would stoke the fires of conflict.
Yeah, the reason you're getting stunned is probably because you're not facing away for this. Can you rescue Aradel? Sip just standing there telling people how to do it instead of using rescue. Wouldn't that be weird if it was Brontome? Yeah, to me it looks like it's 50% of max HP. It would be weird if it was current, because on the first go, we had the entire Light Party 2 die to that explosion, and if it was current, then it wouldn't be able to kill, as was mentioned. Thank you so much, Lisa, and I hope you enjoy your evening as well. Thank you so much. Oh, never mind. For some reason, I thought Cat was the one that had already, well, it was one that had already taken one. Lixen says, I think T would be fun to watch. I'm sure it would be. It would probably be interesting to see Prog for a group that's new to it. But I would think that maybe jumping straight to T when you haven't tried an ultimate before might be a little much. Even though some might say, nah, it's fine. We're reunited. Poof. Dragon becomes smoke. Finally, we're reunited, so I can make you into clothes.
We shall never be parted again.
Form of clothing! Hey, Weaver. Hope you're doing well. And just a casual 300k tank buster. Just combined damage. With 40% damage reduction. T is so very disheartening at the start because you'll spend like 6 to 10 hours literally progging the first minute of the fight. Oof. I appreciate that, Lixen. I don't know, like, I feel like it's still better to, like, work our way through it. Still a faster kill than Thor in Extreme. That is surprising. Yeah, if we were to do an ultimate, we would probably start with the oldest ones. And the thing is, if they're so easy, then it won't take us very long.
You would stoke the fire.
And then we'll get to the harder ones, right? So there's like, it isn't that bad to not skip.
The light shall usher in peace.
Thanks, I think.
Tranquility must be restored to the land.
You should probably not have rescued Sip there, Ceres, because he has to go to the right side, so that wouldn't have worked. Thank you, Skamer. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that my guides could help you. Thank you. Oof. Well, this works. we know where they spawn. Just go to one each. Does standing in the crystal kill you? Probably, I would guess. Did you try? Grr. Every time we return from the intermission, my brain is like, now we can attack her because normal. And then there's the intermission, like there's this.
At long last, we are reunited.
And see, the weird thing is that you might say, couldn't they just make a mechanic where it just skips this? If everyone has already seen it? But it technically spent time. So like if you used all of your cooldowns in the intermission, it kind of matters that that she's running the clock for you. Or it could matter. Whether it actually matters is a different story. So like if they were to make it so that it skipped that, If they made it so that you could skip it, then they would also have to make it so that time skipped properly. Strahd says this was fun to prog, watching this every single pull. I'm sure that having to sit through that if like you wipe to a thing right after the cutscene would be amazingly funny. Like, oh great, now we have to watch all this again to prog 5 more seconds. And yeah, exactly, Brontome. That you kind of like the cutscene matters from making sure the time paces in a specific way. Exactly, Tingle. That sounds... That is exactly the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. Is that if it skipped the cutscene, then there would be something wrong. They're not pre-rendered, just fancy form shifts. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Tranquility must be restored to the land.
Tranquility must be restored to the land. Nyah. Ow. I punch you. I punch the water eater. Light Rampant. Ilya strat. We're doing Light Rampant Lamau strat. That's why you don't do it. It's big brain time. Ow. YOLO strat. You mean Mario Kart? Hey, you heard it, cat. And a cutscene.
My love.
What strat was better for Light Rampant? If Ilya's strat was kinda because of the melee problems.
At long last, we are reunited.
At long last.
And we shall never be parted again.
Reunited with the dragon she's never seen. Yeah. You know, the positive side is that there isn't a random chance here. Agent Monaco said they had to BRB real quick, so wait a moment. Like, what kind of strat was better for Light Rampant? Like, remembering that I've not done E8S on content. What strat was better if the Ilya one was kind of bad? Like, I'm guessing it was basically the antithesis of melee uptime strats, based on what that Sin is saying. I'll just start doing ready checks so I can see whether people are back or not. On a different note, I feel like this is a little bit of a... I feel like I'm being trolled here. Ah yeah, for your Wondrous Tales, you have to do Eden's Verse. Like any Eden's Verse duty. Savage doesn't count, apparently. You said Eden's Verse, not Eden's Verse Savage, idiot. Chloe only wants to hear canon stories, not Savage, except when they're extreme. Then sometimes she's all good. She's very picky is what she is. I also noticed she's completely lost interest in ARR extremes, at least from what I can see. Norris says, I think Savage Coil counts too. That could be. Really random.
The light shall usher in peace.
Rodrow.
Tranquility must be restored to the land.
Exactly, FFXIV. But see, the thing is, FFXIV, is that as far as I know, Wondrous Tales only differentiates in whether are you max level or not. Meaning that, and this was the case in Endwalker, that if you were level 1 to 89 with your highest job, doesn't matter what, then she would give you at most Heavensward content. At most. If you had a level 90 in Endwalker, then you had a max level, so she would, among other things, always give you the level 90 dungeon task. But anything goes, which means she could give an Endwalker trial. Well, no, she could give a Shadowbringers extreme, I think. Something to that effect. Even though you weren't even in Shadowbringers. And now that we go to Rock 100, same deal. It's just that apparently A Realm Reborn have completely shuffled out, I guess. And yes, it is only your highest job, and has always been only your highest job. Exactly, Rust. Because you don't have a level 100. They move the goalpost when they release a new expansion. Also based on stuff you've unlocked now. Well, that's at least a nice detail. Because that was not the case in Endwalker, as far as I know.
At long last.
But I'm pretty sure I've heard people mention that they had something like the first or second extreme of Endwalker, despite not having reached Endwalker. Because they had a level, a max level.
And we shall never be parted again.
I guess it is a stack. It's just the developers going, well, you know what an Akmon is, right? Exactly, Norris. Imagine getting spoiled by the Wondrous Tales book. Of all things. It's 2 stacks. Yeah, it looked like she was about to cast it again. But what would prevent you from just, being in both stacks? Debuffs. Just give a debuff. Oh. I see. There's one on you and one on Sip. Oh, I didn't even notice. Why is it on Sip?
Fools, you would stoke the fires of conflict.
The light shall usher in peace.
The light shall usher in peace. A green piece.
Tranquility must be restored.
Doesn't that
to
would
the
make
land.
Chloe precognizant? Absolutely. Yes, the light shall usher in peace. It's first and second aggro. If aggro swaps, the stacks will swap and are used to kill everyone. That is pretty funny. How is Sip second aggro? How are you so powerful, Sip? Hit me! Hit me harder! Didn't even work. Deja Man says it's first and second aggro. Stand in the middle. Apparently Ham tested this over on their side, and it doesn't kill you. Hey parent, hope you're doing well.
My love.
Hey Drunted, hope you're doing well.
At long last, we are reunited.
Finally, my Gucci Resvelga arrived in the mail.
At it again.
Oh, now I see. There's a red one. In my defense, I couldn't see it for the Archmon right in my face. She Archmoned right on me. She does it like 3 times. Weird. Hey! Hey, Iona. Iona. Hope you're doing well. It made me hard of me yelling at the boss after my co-tank dies. Yeah. Oops. Looks like it's just Ham missing it now. Why does Shiva give the Ramu mount? Good question. Who should have given you the Ramu mount? Considering the Ramu, that Ramu is from that raid tier. Also that, Ceres, that would be weird.
The fires of conflict.
I'm pretty sure it was the preferred world when I started playing Grounded. And I've just not have any reason to move. I'm glad to hear that, Iona. Thank you.
The light shall usher in peace.
Pew! They couldn't really have us right. There are indeed multiple issues with that. It would look weird, first of all. And then there's also just all the other weird ramifications involved. Is there anything not weird about it? Indeed. If light ushers in peace, what vegetable will darkness usher in? Corn. Corn. Diasmo, the way that works is that as you level up, stats will be worth less per point. And you may have noticed that stats are meaningful on gear even when you're level 15, 30, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. As you level up, you will need more and more stats to get the same benefit. Like, for example, I believe at level 15, 1 point of crit gives you like 0.2 or 0.3% crit chance and crit damage. I think you need, I can't remember if it's 10 or 17 crit at level 100 to get 0.1%. Like a third or a fourth of that. So basically, as you level up, you require more stats to get the same benefit. So while you might already be at 203, which is actually quite impressive at level 70, that must be a lot of skill speed gear. When you reach level 100, you will need, relatively speaking, more skill speed to make that happen. My samurai gear is actually geared for 208. So I can show you what I have, and then you can go, oh, when you see how much skill speed you have relative to me after this run. And most of my samurai gear doesn't even have skill speed on it, so some of you might go, that's a lot of skill speed materia. I set it up specifically for the demonstration, just for the record. Stacking crit is very valuable in low level. Stacking crit is complicated in low level, because in low level, well, long story short, if you go into a duty where your gear is synced down, like your gear is better than the gear you might be allowed to have in that duty, then materia stops working. And usually item level is the most important thing when you're leveling up, so you don't really get the choice to stack things very much. Right, so you can see here, I have 1,284 skill speed. And when I set up my speed buff, and by the way, you're level 70, so you don't even have the upgraded speed buff yet with your 203. I have my speed buff, it's 208, and I have 1,284 skill speed. Now, how do I have that? Skill speed, skill speed, skill speed, skill speed, skill speed, skill speed. It's just the materia across the board. But yeah, Tingle. Basically, crit has this, like, slow start scaling so that you need a little bit of it. And once you have a little bit of it, a reasonable amount, it just overtakes all the other stats in scaling. Like, it starts behind directed and determination, but when you reach a certain point, it just rushes past them, and that's why you usually stack crit. Sky gets synced down slow as samurai. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, synced content, guess I'm a slow samurai now. Did I actually have skill speed on anything? Nope. I actually go back to the slowest setting. Exactly, Tingle. Anyone know what house design that house is? It's a Kabi house. Brunton says Samurai is weird with speed because technically 215 is better, but the stuff you do to make it work is what makes 208 forgiving with downtime and mistakes. Yeah, kind of. And generally speaking, this is a problem. The problem is that most jobs have, like, some cooldowns on the minute and every other minute. And those tend to not scale with speed, so crit is better. The jobs that want speed usually want speed because... it does something with the rotation alignment. Which is also why Fast Samurai is there. As Brontom says, 208 is a lot more forgiving, a lot easier. But 215 is harder, but probably a little stronger. Fools! Fools! Does everyone here not have the E12S mount? Well, based on what I can see, we're at least 8, if not 9, in my garden there that needs the mount.
The light shall usher in peace.
Fires of conflict status stoked. I don't think 0.01 seconds matter that much. If you're trying to play perfectly Drawn Dirt, it actually does. It will, over the course of a fight, gradually mess things up. And if you're doing something in a very specific way, you will notice. I can assure you. Maybe not much, but you will notice. If you actually do it enough in a regimented way. Like, if you're just, like, kind of strolling through, you might not notice. But the more consistent your rotation and opener gets, the more the more you'll notice that there's something off if you're used to a different speed. Exactly, Gunbreaker is an amazingly good example of that. Like, having slightly more skill speed, so now you can like late weave No Mercy to have one more GCD in the burst. That's one thing, but your entire rotation also like shuffles along a little bit as a result. If only they made No Mercy scale with skill speed. Gunbreaker's like 5 or 6 minutes into a fight, just bursting completely outside of the burst window.
My love.
Yeah, that's true, Strat. More users would be better than burst window. That is true.
At long last.
And yeah, Tingle, that pretty much underlines the problem with speed, is that jobs have gotten so many big damage buttons these days that even if there's a clear downside to not having some speed, more, like, bigger damage numbers on your rare big damage buttons is better. That's why on a lot of jobs you only grab some skill speed if it's kind of free. Like if it happens to be in the piece that is the better option anyway, or something like that. It would be interesting if they made basically everything scale with speed. That would certainly make speed a lot more interesting. If they made speed scale well enough. Alright, Skeleton. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying your day. If they made everything scale with speed, and then also made speed like somewhat competitive with other stats, especially crit, because notably skill speed, because each increment of GCD reduction costs the same after the first one, of course, which is a little cheaper usually. It scales in like an sort of an exponential fashion similar to crit, because each time you reduce the GCD a little bit more, like it's going to be slightly more impactful. But if it reduces everything, then it means that having more skill speed would equate to having like then you choose, like if you're choosing between crit and skill speed, you're choosing between lucky or more consistent, essentially, because you just get more users. That could be great. Like that could be really good. I think Ham said that they had to bow out now. And yeah, also merge the two speeds. That would also be nice. Making everything scale with speed would make setting up burst phases hard. Yes. See, that's the downside to it. Like, if we look at it in a vacuum, making everything scale with speed and make speed, like, competitive with crit just in general, would make it very interesting in a vacuum, because you can choose between crit, which is luck, or you can choose between speed, which is consistency, right? But then you add one teeny tiny rate buff window, and now you have a problem. Right. Do you need 2 tanks for E12S? And any knowers in chat? You need 2 tanks for E12. Do you need 2 healers for E12S? No. So we can just go damage. Seven DPS is the way to go. And how many healers and tanks? You'll involve the first tank boss and then you'll be in phase 2. Oh, so 7 DPS and 1 tank. Oh, right. Milo also wanted a run of E8. We can do that. We can do that first. one more E8. Zeros, can you switch back to heals? Sib said he needed 2 minutes. I wonder if he'll say when he's back. Couldn't you bring a red mage instead of the second healer? You know, the interesting thing is, unless the mechanic actually has a clear stack marker that we can see, there's a very high chance whoever gets targeted with it will die. On account of the fact that it took a few tries before I went, oh, Akmon is a stack marker. We're doing one more Shiva for Milo. Tranquility must be restored to the land. I'll do it by putting you in this weird light crystal space. Yeah, that's also what I'm hearing, Ceres. I think we'll just YOLO it and see what we do. If things go wrong. Just for the record, for those that tuned in a little bit later, I have not, and I don't believe anyone else in the team have done much effort in looking up the fights in like anticipation of this. So we're like, if you say that something is a specific way in the fight, we'll just have to take your word for it. I don't know.
The light shall usher in peace. Tranquility must be restored to the land.
Look at Cheese Titan stacks with Diamondback. Well, Diamondback is 90% reduction. But I guess Blue could cheese it legitimately. And we have a lot more HP. How much HP do you have at level 80? How much HP do you have at level 80? It's a little difficult because Shadowbringers was before the stat squish. Oof. Without food, a party boss, you're at 25k. Okay, well in that case, you might be onto something that players would just be able to take it. At least some, like a tank would, given I have like 300k. So you use Diamondback, take 10% damage. I use my health bar and use 1000% HP. Big brain time. Says I went into E12N with minimum ice level and no echo, and I'm at 28k as machinist. Strange. At minimum ice level.
We are reunited.
Well, it would be solo there because Ham was alone in my garden.
again.
Interesting they decided to give her green hair for this. What is strange is Tingle says they're at 25k HP as Blue Mage at level 80. And Ham says they're at 28k at in E12 and minimum item level as a machinist. Blue doesn't have stats on weapon? I guess not. Would that make that big of an HP difference? Oh, Ham says if I go in as Blue Mage, I have 22k. Okay, that explains. Guess you could dye Reen's green hair. I guess you could say Reen's green hair was a phase. Yeah, that would make the difference, I suppose. How do we get Aerodil back in? Aerodil was in the original group. We are like 10 who won the mount. We'll just have to get everyone eventually. And Ham is having food break. That's fine, Aerodil. Come on in. Come on in. We'll figure it out as we go. It might be good if we try while we have a tank and a healer. And we'll see if we don't need something like that. Mages do have slightly less HP, yeah, Ogni. The reason why it confused me was 28k on minimum item level of a ranged physical versus Blue Mage as is. Like, presumably maximum item level for the content, I would assume. That's what confused me. Yeah, the weapon not having anything makes a big difference. Was the first tank boss on E12 phase 2 on the furthest player? I guess we'll see. Oh, fair enough, Han. In that case, I guess we're 9 getting the mount. I'd completely forgotten that it starts as like an Asian Prime.
One that we may share for all eternity.
She's still in there. Somewhere.
Somewhere.
I won't give up on our future, Gaia. No matter what.
It's a little strange that strat. It's like orchestral has that effect for some people, I suppose.
Joined as one, never to be parted, unbound by past or future in this single perfect moment.
So Orchestron has no percussion. Yeah, that would also... Wow. Hey guys, do you think there's a phase 2?
We shall draw your memories.
Junction Shiva. Whoops. Whoops.
Our utopia cannot fall.
Whoops. I think Shiva was a spread marker, guys.
The fusion is undone. But is she alright?
Kaboom! It's the new ultimate boss, probably.
Metron?
Yes, I remember. I am Gaia.
What I meant with probably is maybe there's another
Mine
phase,
was the
so it's not
seat of
quite her.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star.
Nice outfit. Right, so let's jump.
The Oracle of Darkness.
Idle.
By the will of the ancients.
Checkpoint. Woo! Imagine if there wasn't a checkpoint. Well, then I guess we'll have to figure out how to spread for Shiva.
I shall fulfill my duty as the Oracle of Darkness.
Oh, wow. She put on the echo there.
By the will of the ancients.
I don't know what this does. That! Oh, wonderful. I goofed up my inner release.
Whispers of ruination.
Womp womp.
Smite my foe.
Spell in waiting? That's a bad idea. To delay a spell for later. You don't know if you'll actually be alive for that, Gaia? 10 seconds? Are you sure? I cast spell in waiting. In 11 seconds, you will perish. Well, you'll be dead in 7, so... I wonder, like, she put everyone down to 1 HP. I wonder if that made it relevant to have a healer. Oh, right. Oh, I already have that for some reason. Just throw shaking, it'll be fine. Okay, Sip, do you want to play a DPS? I don't think Sip actually has good options for DPS. Yeah, that's the thing. Sip has substantially better healer gear. So maybe we'll just continue as we are. What's not fair? Like, my group couldn't skip this. Grr. Back in my day, we had to kill Eden's Promise in minimum item level gear in a snowstorm with bad connection and garbage voice comms. The young'uns have it so easy now. We had to kill Eden's Promise uphill both ways. Yeah, exactly. Back in my day, we actually had to do the entire fight. Remember, everyone, it's a spread. Boom.
And they will be your undoing.
Oh, there's two of them. We almost got it. Right. It hits twice.
The fusion is undone. But is she alright?
Back in my day, we had to use Skype for voice comms to get Eden's Promise. Oh man, that sounds like hell. Like a really big group chat on Skype. I mean, I never paid for it, but I remember at least if you had the free version, if more than one person was speaking at a time, it would just like it was almost like it was like alternating who could speak, which meant you couldn't hear anyone. Yeah, absolutely. Like I rated on Vent, I rated on TeamSpeak. You haven't played when you didn't have to do raid comms by a carrier pigeon.
I am Gaia. Mine was the seat of Logreth.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star.
Is she alright or is she Logriff? Let's jump. I just wanna jump. Jump!
As the Oracle of Darkness. By the will of the ancients!
Exactly, Tingle. That's the classic. Just wanted to say congratulations on your clear. It was harder when I did it. Just saying. That's also the reason why there's no point beating hard content just to satisfy someone else's, like, expectations. Like, you know the classic, oh yeah, well, you're not any good unless you've beaten XYZ. Because if you actually go and beat it, they'll just move the goalpost. There's no point. But can you solo it on Warrior?
Whispers of ruination. Smite my foe!
And somehow, Bokaj, despite them having like one mechanic, that could sometimes be enough. That's a spell in waiting, right? She's really not doing herself any favors by casting it in waiting. In a moment, I'll hit you. Like, vanilla World of Warcraft? Oh yeah, Baron Geddon. Living Bomb. And like a and a DPS check. And I think a mana burn? Something like that. And the only mechanic that was a problem was Living Bomb. For those that haven't played, Living Bomb was like, so out of 40 players, someone would be designated the bomb, and they would basically explode for damage around them a little bit later. So what they had to do amounted to move away from everyone else. And people used like macros to spam whisper the person who had it, because apparently that was hard. At least based on what I've heard, that was actually a thing. Nowadays, it's like you have an add-on. Just says, you're the bomb move. If Baron Geddon even gets to do it with a full world buffs and all that.
Joined as one, never to be parted.
Run away, little girl! Run away! The sound of getting a mechanic you have to move away with. The sound of a big raid wide incoming. Destruction! Yeah, or beware. That's also a good one. Oh, that's the stack, right? I think we have to stick together for this one. Remember it explodes again. Remember it explodes again. We did it. Luckily you can stack the stacks.
The fusion is undone. But is she alright?
The Earth Elemental guy in Woven Calls sometimes. I think, wasn't that the one where you needed, like, warlocks or something to banish ads or something like that? So I could imagine that if that failed to be maintained properly, things went haywire.
Metron?
Not yourself when the fusion is undone. Here, have a Snickers.
Yes, I remember. I am Gaia. Mine was the seat of Logreth.
Yeah, the problem there, as both Tingle and Ceres kinda allude to, is that in WoW, boss fights are designed with the assumption that you're going to use a boss mod.
I shall fulfill my duty as
So
the Oracle of Dark.
it's going to be like bordering on impossible without them, just by comparison to how easy it is with them. This pauses me when I haven't gotten my dinner yet. That's it, I'm getting the mallet. Yeah, part of the reason for that, Bokaj, is that the kind of boss fights that is basically... Oh, look, a Viper weapon. The kind of boss fights that is nearly all boss fights in Final Fantasy XIV, right? The kind of boss fights that are basically all of the boss fights in Final Fantasy XIV are called dance fights in World of Warcraft. This particular idea where you basically have to stand somewhere super specific, then mechanic resolves, and you go over there, you do this thing, and then you do this, and this, and this, and it's in a perfect sequence every time, is a specific category of boss fight in World of Warcraft that is extremely rare. And, as far as I know, not liked. That's either because, one, World of Warcraft is not good at it, or two, preference. The fact that basically all boss fights in Final Fantasy XIV are dance fights also means that the other kinds of categories you might see in World of Warcraft are basically non-existent in Final Fantasy XIV. And yet, basically, the reason why a lot of the time people don't like them, I think, is exactly because it requires it removes that flexibility that is so prevalent in World of Warcraft, that a lot of the time you can get away with thinking on your feet and just like reacting to what's coming. In a dance fight, if you're not where you need to be when the boss says jump, then you wipe. The end. Which means that you don't have that flexibility, which is like, it's prevalent in World of Warcraft at large. Like, rotations are more varied and flexible, more random. Ow. So a dance fight would be less appreciated. What are the other categories? I don't even know, Wizard. I just know that this is a particular category, and I specifically know it because there was that dance fight in Legion with Helya that people hated. Like, hated it. But yeah, like, if you think about how a fight will present a mechanic, the thing is coming up, you can react to it. Your add-on says, spread, go over here, do this. With a dance fight, the add-on basically has to say, go to this specific spot, and they have to do it like 20 seconds in advance so that you're there on time, and things like that.
Mine was the seat of Logreth.
Your council is an example of category, but you could have a dance fight that is a council fight. Councils are... I don't think Final Fantasy XIV has a council fight. Council fights in World of Warcraft there are more than one boss. And you have the freedom, usually, you have the freedom to choose what order you kill in. And as you kill the bosses, the remaining bosses become stronger. So like, the order you kill them in matter. And because they typically also heal up again when you kill one, things like that, you can't just go out, we'll just cleave them all evenly. No. Nope. Usually not an option. We had a council fight with Binding Coil of Bahamut turn 2. Fair enough. Yeah, in a way, you're right. That is the orb, right? I guess that is kind of like a council fight. But yeah, like, categories, as you can probably imagine, like, is a more of a vague term. It isn't as strict as you might think. Kylan does the closest thing to that, I think, in Final Fantasy XIV is the final boss in Tower of Zod. And you know, the thing is, Kylan, I would have agreed with you, but you don't get to choose what order you kill them in. If you kill the two other, like the first or the second boss first, then the third boss will rest them, I believe.
Never to be parted. Unbound by past or future in this single perfect.
So you don't really get to choose. But then when when the big guy is dead, you can kill them in any order you want, but at that point, like, it's just like clean up. Hey Shaq and Caetsu, hope you're doing well. Ooh, it's spread time. Nice. Remember, we need to spread again. Oh, that's I didn't get close enough.
No! Our utopia cannot fall!
King Mark? Oh yeah. I guess in a way.
The fusion is undone.
If the
Is she
requirement
alright?
is as vague as there's more than one boss, then yeah. But yeah,
Metron?
on the one hand, does King Thornton count as one? See, I don't know. I would say that King Thornton is not a council fight. It's more like a boss with ads.
I remember. I am Gaia.
But yeah, on the one hand, World of Warcraft
Mine is
using
the
add-ons
seat of the
so
Lord.
aggressively like they do, means that fights are at a point where you have to have it, which isn't super great. On the other hand, because they give you that freedom to have that tool,
I shall fulfill
they
my
can get
duty as the Oracle.
perhaps a little more creative with the mechanics, I guess.
By the will of the ancients!
Imagine if she could just sneak in a single auto attack after she sets everyone to 1 HP.
Nation,
Just bam, tank dead.
fight my foe!
Yeah, true, because they don't like they can get meaner with mechanics than Final Fantasy XIV can. Isn't that actually what happened, Perrin? That people just discovered that it was easier to just let the boss at the end harden rage or something weird like that? And that's also true. Just because WoW can get away with going, oh well, DBN will provide, the mechanics tend to give you the information you need. But there are mechanics in WoW that are so insanely brutal, where in Final Fantasy XIV you'd go, well, you need like to make pre-planned light parties and stuff because the mechanic targets the healers or something. In WoW, I would say it's a lot more likely that such a mechanic would just go, it targets 2 players. They don't need to give you that courtesy of letting you predict who it's going to target, because you have DBM. You can figure it out.
Joined as one, never to be parted, unbound by past or future in this single perfect moment. We shall draw your memories from you.
Ooh, spread again. Ugh.
And they will be your undoing.
Hey, you can survive if you just don't get hit by all of them. A ton of mechanics and see it. Final Fantasy does have these
fusion is
wild
undone.
downtime phases with a ton of mechanics in
Is she alright?
sequence. Yeah, that is a little strange also. That is something that I've actually complained about previously, that I think it's a little silly, that they have these sections where a boss is like just doing mechanics, you can't attack anything. Like, on the one hand, part of it is, of course, well, if you have to do all those mechanics, it might be difficult to do your rotation. And sometimes it would be, well, deep melee can't do the mechanic and also attack the boss.
Metron?
But wouldn't that exactly be the kind of mechanic where ranged physical would thrive? Like, isn't that what the ranged physical jobs are paying their lower, like, damage cap for? Like, isn't that exactly why? So that they can DPS where others cannot. Like, a particular one that stood out to me was P5S, Proto-Kabi. While it's doing its Devour, a machinist could just shoot at it while doing the mechanic if they're good enough. But they're not allowed to, because the boss becomes untargetable.
I shall fulfill my duty as the Oracle of Darkness. By the will of the ancients.
Yeah, exactly, Perrin. That was kind of the idea, right? That melees are supposed to do more damage because sometimes they can't attack.
Whispers of ruination. Smite my foe!
Smite my foe! I smite thee with fell cleave. And feller cleave. And yeah, exactly. They don't really explain it. Sometimes the boss is just standing there and now you can't attack it. That's true, Ham. That's also why I haven't complained about that one. That is actually a thing where I would say that's an improvement. Because M1S basically has Devour. Slightly less punishing Devour, but it's basically there.
Joined as one, never to be parted, unbound by past or future in this single perfect moment.
So, funny little story. Back near the end of Endwalker, we did a stream of farming Ruby Weapon. And we did this silly thing of stacking cooldowns on me. Oh, we have spread again. Specifically to see if we could get a over 100k Primal Rend crit. We managed to do it. With tinctures and everything. Meanwhile, now it's kind of free. I think I had 155 crit with Primal Ruination in this fight.
The fusion is undone. But is she alright?
This now is with Big Echo. That's true. But yeah, exactly. Ruby also had Big Echo. So, like, relatively speaking, it's about the same.
Metron?
Big and small Echo, yeah. I'm behind her. Yeah, indeed, Cat. I think Ymir was Dancer specifically to give me Devilment.
Mine was the seat of Logreth.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star.
I mean, to be honest, what she's offering there isn't necessarily bad, is it?
Fulfill my duty as the Oracle of
I'll restore darkness to the star that is like overflown with light. Like, are we the baddies in this specific moment? Is she actually the bad guy? Beyond the part where she's trying to kill us.
whispers of ruination.
Or maybe we don't care because she's like, if she actually got her way, she would just start casting spell and waiting for like 30 years and be like, oh yeah, I'll fix it eventually. Like, I've already cast a spell. She's gonna over-restore it. Oh. Oh. Sip says it feels longer, but it's actually faster. Oh. I wasn't paying too close attention to the time, but I guess it's because there's only one intermission. Hmm? We could grab Shack. Then we can grab Rust after we do that. And we can get Rust for the... That also works. It's only me who doesn't have a mount yet. Among those are already here. Oh yeah, I actually thought that story was like a meme or something, Parent. I didn't know that it was actually like a real story, come to think of it. There's in one H.P. Lovecraft story where a family is cursed by a wizard to die at like 30 years old, and the main character's freaking out over it, but then the spell and waiting, it's just a wizard murdering the family when they turn 30. Yeah, I cast spell and waiting. Gun. I guess the real threat was that the wizard is unending. That's also true, Ham. It's extra stuff.
Joined as one, never to be parted.
Joined as one. For some reason, that means we have like 8 arms.
We shall draw your memories from you.
Hey, it's the stack one.
And they will be your undoing.
No! Kaboom!
No! Our utopia cannot fall!
Joined as one, never to be parted, just like Reen and her noodle dress. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't last
Fusion is
long.
undone. But is she all right?
It is a noodle dress, isn't it? Noodle dress. Reyes Velga, the mighty noodle of Dravania. She was canoodling with the dragons. The most dangerous of noodles. As I actually... Canoodling with the noodles.
Yes.
We've had a few noodles.
Remember.
Noodle boss fights in Final Fantasy.
Mine was the seat of Logreth.
Hey, Rosguide. The two fish today named them Reen and Gaia, actually. Oh, nice. Weirdly fitting.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star. I shall
Schmack.
fulfill my duty as the Oracle of Darkness. By the will of the ancients.
By the will of the ancients.
Whispers of ruination.
Normal Race Velga. Well, he's still kind of noodly. I'd say Nidhogg and Race Velga are weirdly noodly. Like, they're not entirely snake noodles, but they're kind of noodly. Tank only Eden countdown when? Ooh. Just generally Savage countdown sounds like a lot harder than Extreme countdown. Isn't there a noodle in Nidhogg's fight? There are multiple noodles. There's Nidhogg himself. The two of the ads in the ad phase are also noodles of varying degree. There's the noodle with legs, and the noodle without legs, and then there's Nidhogg. Which is also technically a noodle with legs. Doink. How many rounds have we done? 8. And there's 2 players in the group left that needs it. The the Dreadworm Noodlog. Can't forget the pure noodle Altreuter. Yeah, indeed. The true danger noodle.
Joined as one, never to be parted, unbound by past or future in this single perfect moment.
And yeah, that's true. We also have a Valley Amanda, which is also danger noodle. Weirdly, Altreuter uses 3 elements, right? We have stacks again. And Valley Amanda also uses the same 3 elements, doesn't it?
And they will be your undoing.
No!
Utopia cannot fall.
Doesn't one of the panda raids have noodles as well? Is there a noodle? Oh yes! P8S summons
The fusion
noodles
is undone. But is she all right?
on both Quetzalcoatl. I guess so. Which makes it even weirder, because we have actually a boss in Academia and Ida that is actually Quetzalcoatl in Final Fantasy. And that one is only lightning. D6 has noodles around her arms.
Neutron?
Yes,
And Leviathan is a noodle.
I remember. I am
Which one
Gaia.
from Final Fantasy VIII, Erdo?
Mine was the seat of Logrith.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star. I shall fulfill my duty as the Oracle of Darkness.
Darkness, darkness, darkness.
By the will of the ancients.
Oh, it's a summon from from FF8, the one in Academia. Oh, well, there you go.
Whispers of ruination. Smite my foe!
Smite my foe. In like a bit. What she's really proving here is that the ancients are sort of like, we'll mail it in. We'll get it done eventually. Did you ever play WoW seriously? I was a reasonably hardcore raider in Mr. Pandaria especially. And also in Legion. I pretty much almost always mained tank. I played in every expansion I played for some time, up to and including Battle for Azeroth. In Battle for Azeroth, I only played for a month. And in Worlds of Draenor, I also pretty much played like for a month, and then in the pre-patch for Legion. But I played World of Warcraft a lot. Played it for years. That's also how I know those things about how the game works. Because I played it. I was there. Oh, stack again.
And they will be your undoing.
It is quite funny how this particular phase, like right at the start, she's basically doing the, well, do you remember how it works on normal thing?
The fusion is undone. But is
Do
she
you
alright?
remember? Poof.
Neutron?
For a second it looked like my character appeared with like the lightning strike there. The jump scare Kai.
Yes, I remember.
Would have been a bigger jump scare if I didn't look so exhausted.
Mine was the seat of Logreth.
I shall restore the power of darkness to this star.
Well, Solo's pretty nice. Swirlies! Whee! Very effective.
Fulfill my duty as the Oracle of Darkness. By the will of the ancients. Whispers of
Yeah,
ruination.
guy like, I must do my job as the Oracle of Darkness. Just Phil Cleave in from behind before she can do it. Like we just, she just gets to do her super mode transformation. Can't I just Phil Cleaver? Is that an option? Could I do that? Whee! We did it! Good luck, Roskind. Guess that means everyone got their mounts. So what do we do now? That would be P4S. That's a big jump in difficulty, I think. It is quite funny how she says Will of the Ancients and then uses a spell in waiting. By the will of the Ancients! In like 10 seconds. Let's get the M4S mount. Yeah, real quick. I was actually thinking we could do Diamond Weapon a bit. Unlike Emerald Weapon, Diamond Weapon does not have like a cutscene intermission, so Diamond Weapon Extreme should be reasonably fast. But it comes down to whether people actually have Diamond Weapon Extreme unlocked. And part of the reason for that is because even if we could beat P4S real easy, we wouldn't be able to do 8 runs in like 30 minutes. But doing a few runs of Diamond Weapon before we like round up stream, feel like that's something we could do. And then maybe we'll get them out, maybe we won't. Shaq says they don't have it. Does Milo have it? Does Ham have it? As in, Diamond Weapon Extreme unlocked? The ancients will now deliberate what their will actually is. We'll get back to you in 10 seconds. Now that would be pretty funny. Like it just shows randomly. Ham does not have the time. Does Milo have it? It's level 80. It is level 80. It is Shadowbringers. Does Milo have a Diamond Weapon Extreme unlocked? Is Milo actually at the PC? Yeah, maybe just check your Shadowbringers trials. See if you have the Cloud deck Extreme. Oh, has it? That also works. On a different note, this doesn't look very safe. Just holding on. Just... What am I holding on to? I'm holding on to a flat surface. I'm just like... I'm sure this will be fine. And what are my feet on? Also on the flat surface. I hope there's some grip on that. Let's be honest, most mounts aren't safe to ride. You're right. But this is probably a whole new level of dangerous to ride. The power of thighs. Just holding on real hard. Do we need... I don't even know if we need 2 tanks. There is something that will target tanks. But I wonder if that'll even happen. Do we need 2 healers? Probably not. Turbo speedrun time. This one I actually did when it was current. Pretty funny, I did it with the free company I was in at the time, and we had some players that were not ready for hard content. Let's put it nicely. So after the set we did there, I went back in with like Party Finder group and beat it like second try. Just out of annoyance that we didn't beat it. I believe the primary way the boss attacks the tanks is that it shoots like a line AoE as an auto attack. So it might, like, I don't know if it's actually going to do anything meaningful, but if it does do damage, like, don't stand on a conga line. Long cutscene. Normal, those lasers also hit both tanks, I think. Yeah, exactly. And that's also the case on Extreme. On normal, it just targets both tanks, I'm pretty sure. On Extreme, I'm pretty sure it's like top 2 aggro. But it's still 2, which means that presumably the strongest DPS will just get blasted. Yeah, it cleaves. That's why I'm saying don't stand in the line. You know, let's just go. Really, let's just go. There it is. Laser! That looked like it hurt a lot more than it actually did. Just shoot a whoop on you and it just does nothing. Whee! Alright, Ham, enjoy your evening. Weep. Oh, that's a good start. Mount. That's what we call a good start. One mount. Law Abiding Pokemon says I had to get 99 totems for this one. Oh. That's the worst. I remember when we were doing, as I said earlier, like regular, somewhat regular mount farms back in Endwalker. We actually had someone in our group that bought the Hades mount for totems. Which only means 50 runs. I'm just going to pull, by the way. Only 50. Actually, it occurs to me that we have a Pixomancer, so I shouldn't just pull. I won't do it again. Yeah, Hades is particularly brutal because he has a lot of... by the way, you have to switch sides, guys. Or you can also just survive it. I mean, that's an option. But the Hades fight has like 3 or 4 mandatory... like, basically cutscenes. Basically cutscenes. So it takes a lot longer than your average extreme, even if you're going at maximum speed. It's 3, fair enough. Still a lot. That wasn't me. Send your letters of fury to Clove. Ninja Lane. Remember to use your paintbrush for it. I don't think it really matters. It's just it makes the Pixomancers especially sad. Spread. Really? That does help. We also stack the beams. Nani? What is this? Oh, nice. And yeah, The Hades fight does not have a checkpoint. I'll make the pull timer shorter, if that's any help for the impatient. I'll make it shorter. Or would the dancer really like that I don't make it shorter, I wonder? Blam! Laser! Oh, hi. Well, you survived. But, it looks like Diamond Weapon doesn't take kindly to that. Got offended that you survived it. Oh, another mount. That is actually pretty nice. Pretty good. 2 mounts. In like, what, 10 minutes? Exactly, Pigman. The Hades fight is... Like, if the bosses just, like, spawned in immediately and you just went for it, then the fight would be, like, a minute now. It is, like, a reasonably normal length boss fight, I suppose, if you're doing it normally. I mean, they couldn't even use my horn? Well, no. It looks like every time I'm waiting to queue again, I'm waiting for your loading screen. Specifically. So yeah, no. I guess not. Blam! A blam! Oh. Yeah, when a mount farm goes well, it goes fast. Does Diamond Weapon give 2? Have we done 10? I don't feel like we've done 10. Does it give 2 at a time? We've done... Well, we have to have done 5 because I have 10 in my inventory. Who's not clicked yes? That is strange. I would assume Emerald is longer now. Exactly. The fact that this one gives 2 and the other ones that have those long cutscenes just don't is weird. Slash. And rockets. How long were the fights expected to be on release? Now that's a hard question. But that's the weird thing, is that both Ruby Weapon and Emerald Weapon have checkpoints, whereas this one doesn't. And the checkpoints would sort of suggest that the fight would be longer, right? And I don't think there was any suggestion that Diamond Weapon would be, like, longer than average. Yeah, that would be a way to do it, Pikmin. It's a little hard, exactly because Ruby and Emerald have checkpoints, which means that it has basically 2 fights with separate harden rages. I'm a fire in Malaysia! Larg! And that would be a way to check it. And of course, if Diamond Weapon's enrage timer is significantly longer than like something that would be considered normal, that would of course explain. I'm doing a few more runs, guys. I'm not planning to hold you all hostage until we all have them out. I'm just going for a bit, and we'll see if we all get it. It just occurred to me that if I had been actually smart, I would have made sure that we did Emerald Weapon, because I have Emerald Weapon on my Wondrous Tales. That would have been genius. Like, oh, why Emerald Weapon specifically? It would have been faster to do some runs with Diamond Weapon. Yeah, well... Don't worry, I'm not like going, oh, we skip Emerald Weapon. It was more that we don't have that, like, we don't have time to like mega spam one specific extreme. Maybe next time I do a mountain farm we'll do Emerald Weapon. since we already finished all of the Savages of Shadowbringers. Is there gonna be a spot open for this? No. We're just doing a few runs and then we will finish. That, like, we're not going to be like cycling players. Yeah, fair enough. What do we do with old relic weapons? The real one, it can't be stored in armor, and the armory chest has only so much space. Put it on a retainer, yeah. I'm pretty sure the answer is it's yours now. Congratulations. But you could stash it on a retainer. But there isn't like a convenient place to keep it. You can also throw it away, but who knows, you might regret that. But it is actually one of the things that makes me consider when oh, it's spread. Consider when looking at relic weapons whether I actually want to make all of them, like of old ones. Exactly because you're kind of stuck with them once you've made them. Huh. Cat with the greed. Pew. Oh, another mount. I got it. Oh boy, look what time it is. Now we're doing a few more runs. We're doing a few more runs. That's actually incredibly... What happened to Zip? Is he dead? Zip? Did you fall too far? Camera just like smash cuts to Zip and he's still falling. If you're gonna farm for emerald, you can do emerald with 8 DPS. There's no need for anything else. Huh. That is quite interesting. Some say he's still falling to this day. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Mewels. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, you know the rules. Alala must fall for mount to drop. The Lala sacrifice of luck. Yeah, exactly. The mandatory cutscene on Emerald Weapon is the big thing, I imagine, that heavily inflates the time it takes. And the swipe, and the shoop the whoop. Warg. No! Could Kosari see the future? I got yoinked. And yes, he is Sapphic. The reason why Sip has a tendency to die in these runs is because each time you see him jump, if someone else doesn't go with him, it's because he failed to grab someone with him. Does the playing of the cutscene get added to the completion time? Well, I mean, the completion time itself is printed in the like in the chat log when the boss dies, and the completion time is based exactly on how much time like you spent in the duty. So the completion time technically includes the time where you're just standing around. Like if we're going to be super pedantic about it, everything counts. Which is also the reason why I'm using a shorter pull timer. Because it adds up. When the fight is like 1 minute and a few seconds, then an 8-second longer pull timer would actually significantly increase the total clear time. I wasn't expecting it when Sip grabbed me. Usually when I see him start to square up to grab someone, I use arm's length. And if I use it exactly right, then I'm immune until the fight is over, and then there's nothing he can do. But I didn't expect him to grab me. I think we'll do this one and then one more. And then call that the farm. And then we hope there's that we're super lucky that the game goes, oh, you have to go soon. Right, 2 melt to this. What? How did 3 players die? Kaiser, E4S is very easy. We pretty much just steamrolled through it. With 8 players and just like killed the boss before any problematic mechanic would happen at all. Like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure that we heard earlier in the week that or rather last week, that there were 5 in the community that did some runs of E4S no problem as 5 players. So you're probably fine. And yeah, I would probably rank it most like 1 minute. Maybe a bit more than 1 minute, maybe. It's really fast. Also that, like, if you wind back the stream, you'll see how we did it earlier. Oh, it's not hard. That is also an option, if you want to see. You would basically see us just floundering the mechanics completely and still win. Well, it better drop a mount. It didn't. Well. Oh yeah, that's true. If you rewind the stream, you won't find it. We had to restart the stream. Just to put it into perspective, it took us like 20 minutes to get 9 mounts. I think. No, 8 mounts. 8 mounts. Like 20 minutes to get 8 mounts. Including the time to get started. How many mounts did we get here? We did 13 runs of Diamond. Three mounts? That's pretty good. That's decent. Especially when the boss dies that fast. But yeah, the reason. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Kaisa. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Thank you. And also good luck with those mount farms. Just to clarify, and I think some others said the only one that requires more than one person is E8. That's right, just because of the intermission. And even so, E8, we ran into problems that the amount of damage you take in intermission is percentage based. So you kind of need 2 healers to actually survive. Like you need 1 healer in each section. You need to split the group up in a mechanic that is unskippable. And E12, it seemed like we were fine with, like, we could have done it with a tank and 7 DPS and been fine. But it is at a point where you could wipe to the 1 or 2 mechanics you'd see. So, I would say specifically E12, the actual DPS of your group might matter, like, a little bit. Like just a small little amount, because it might mean that 1 more mechanic manages to play and turns out the boss can kill you. Like, that's basically it. And the reason why I'm thinking about that is because, I mean, I used to do like mount farms in a different free company where it was pretty clear when there were like how many players that were like carrying the group, like how many there were of those in the group. You could see how many mechanics were happening in those unsynced fights. And it would not necessarily that they were carrying hard, it was just that you could see that, let's say I have done in like late Shadowbringers, I would say, I have done O8S, so Kefka, mount farms with a bordering on Ice Mage, Black Mage. I have done that. And there, back then, the fight took a little longer. So it mattered a little more. So that's just what I'm saying, is that it's not a long fight, E12S unsynced. But it is it might be like tiny bit. If, like, depending on the average skill level in your free company. I don't know your free company. So that's why I'm just giving that little warning. So that you know. Did the chat break? Oh, okay. Fair enough. He says, I got my Kefka clear way back when on a job I couldn't even play because I was failing for a friend static. People drastically overestimate how much their personal skill or lack of it can affect things. Yeah. You see, that's actually the reason why I remember that so vividly is because I remember, like, we did 8 runs once we managed to get it down. Because we actually kind of had to prog 08S unsynced a bit. Like, that's how dire it was. But once we got it down, we did 8 clears. And then there was this day a while, like weeks later, where someone was like, oh, that's a cool mount from 08S. By the way, when I say cool mount, that is, of course, subjective. It's a silly mount. But someone wanted it, and the guy that was the ice mage was like, oh yeah, it's easy. We could just carry you through. And I basically had to tell him in in a bit roundabout way that it highly depends on who you're bringing, whether it's easy. Because I wasn't going to tell him that it was his like that he was the problem. That's why it stands out to me so much, is that it was specifically a case of it's not that bad, but you kind of need a few players to do the damage. I specifically remember, I can't remember if we did that on stream, but I do remember doing 08S with my current free company. Exactly, Cat. Not pointing fingers, but with my current free company, like, yeah, it must have been not on stream. It can't have been on stream because we could field like 5 players. That was what we could muster, was 5 players. We were like, can we actually do it? And in early mid Endwalker or so, yes, you could do it with 5, no biggie. But let's just say that Heartless Angel and all that, we kind of relied on the fact that we could shield it up beforehand. You'd set your HP to 1, and if you just had a really big shield, you could kind of ignore the other mechanics. Just soak the thing. Yeah, exactly, Brontom. That's also like what you see that I sometimes mention, like in the mental roulette, is that, oh, this fight is taking really long. I think there's something wrong with my group's damage. I sometimes bring that up. And the reason why I notice is because it's a case of normally the fight is over by now. Like, I don't see this mechanic much. Why is the fight looping? It doesn't normally do that. The giant novelty foam finger of not pointing. Yep. But yeah, the thing is, that free company I was in prior to my own one here, there were some weak players in the most active section of the free company. They didn't quite know that. And the thing is, for the most part, people were too nice to tell them. And for the most part, it's not like they were doing content where it was a problem. An awful lot of people get pretty far into the game without knowing they need to keep their GCDs rolling. See, the interesting part with that, Nori, is sometimes, like, the idea that someone is playing Final Fantasy XIV and somehow don't learn these quote-unquote basic concepts in the game, is a little shocking considering how long the game is. But if you try to compare it to other games, it starts to make more sense. Like, I could imagine that your first run-through of an RPG, or a Souls-like game, or almost whatever, even a platformer, you're probably relying heavily on, like, the bread and butter basics of, like, I'm just Mario, I'm just jumping and running. Some might not even realize you can sprint, and things like that. In an RPG, you're probably not optimizing things. You might change your mind about what kind of thing you want a specific character to do, so their stat line is kind of goofed up as a result. But it's fine, the game lets you win anyway, it just requires that you grind a bit harder. In a Souls-like, or Dark Souls straight up, it's very likely that the average player's first playthrough involves slash with sword. And if you happen to pick a mage because it was cool, you might throw some fireballs or something. But it's not before, like, you maybe reach, like, a post-game, if there is one, or your second run-through, where you go, how could I do this faster, or better? And just to give a specific example of me doing this, I sometimes bring up Stranger of Paradise. Awesome game, you should try it if you haven't. It is on Steam. My first playthrough of that was, of course, on the normal difficulty, and I used the companions. Yep, bingo! And I played through pretty much as Sage for the most part, which basically means that you have access to white and black magic, which means you can heal your group, you can give haste, you can give protect, you can give shell, like you can buff up your group, and then you can also cast black magic spells, and you can cast Ultima. Like, it's very good at just standing back and letting your companions tank for you, which was what I did. Sage is very strong in Stranger of Paradise. The thing is, Sage is very good at being the scared guy in the back, but you know what? You know how you do a lot of damage as Sage? Just running through a map, you just use haste on yourself, and you just run up and just beat up the enemies with a mace. And because you have haste, you swing so fast that you can actually stagger the enemies before they can wind up to hit you back. Which means Sage is actually really good in melee range. But I didn't try that. Exactly, Sage all magic, not to be confused with Sage barrier healer. Exactly. I did use the parry button because in Stranger of Paradise you have two different blocking buttons. You have the regular block where you just block, which means that when you get hit, you kind of take the hit with your stagger bar instead. You also take some damage if you don't actually parry, which you do by clicking block when you're hit. Hey, Ymir, hope you're doing well. But you also have the thing, I can't remember if it's called that exactly, but I usually call it soul parry. Where you, like, put out, like, this orange sphere. We're actually winding up to finish, Ymir, but, welcome. You put out this, like, orange magic in front of you, and if you're hit by something that isn't straight up unblockable, you will parry it, meaning you take no damage. You generate MP as a result. There's actually one of the primary ways you do generate MP. But it also, holding out this magic in front of you, just eats your stagger bar. Just, and when you're hit, it also hits your stagger bar. Which means that you can go down to like 0.01% block or stagger bar as a result of that. Or you can also just straight up get like down for the count for a few seconds, which is painful. If your stagger bar drops completely, you get stunned for like 3 or 4 seconds, and all buffs you had are just gone. And you also lose some max MP, so you have to build that up again, which is primarily done by killing things in specific ways and soul parry. Yeah, I guess so, look at my G. But the key here is that soul parry gives you MP, which means as a sage, I saw reason to run in soul parry something so that I could generate MP, so I could run back and then cast something. Blocking doesn't do that. I'll explain in a moment, Emir. Blocking doesn't do that. It just blocks damage. Which meant I don't think I blocked once in my entire first playthrough. On my second playthrough, because I played the post-game enough, then I went to play it from the start again. Hardest difficulty, no companions. Turns out blocking is really good. Really good. And you know what's also really good? Actually using your MP for physical attacks is amazingly good. So like I went from basically just standing in the back and casting fire and things like that to going full on blaster because I had to when it was the harder difficulty and I was alone. And that's kind of the idea. That the reason why we're talking about this is because this kind of jump is the same kind of jump as using your things on cooldown in Final Fantasy XIV, or keeping the GCD spinning in Final Fantasy XIV. But a lot of players don't see any need to master the game as long as they can progress in it. They're enjoying the story. That's good enough. To Emia's question, why part 2? We started the stream and I had a lot of frame drops. Last time I suggested that it was a possibility that rebooting my router would help, but rebooting my router would require me to restart the stream. So after we had farmed Titan, I restarted the stream. Like basically just finished, restarted the router, which is over there. As soon as it was done, I set up a new stream and then we continued from there. Because that's the reason why it's part 2. And I'm glad to hear that, Louise. Thank you so much. But that kind of build from just doing, playing it safe, you can almost see it if you think about it. You see the sprouts that are like a bard or a machinist or a mage of some sort, and they're standing over in Narnia because they don't know what to expect. So they're scared of everything. The boss starts casting something, they start running. And they're only casting the bare minimum. They're not using their cooldowns right. They don't know what to expect from the game, so they don't know how to optimize. And given that they're progressing, they're very focused on the story and all this content they're getting thrown at them all the time. So they don't get the time to actually sit down and learn it. And to some degree, some of them don't care at that point. As long as they're progressing, it's good enough. And the only reason why this stands out as a quote-unquote problem in Final Fantasy XIV is because in a Souls-like, or Stranger Paradise, which is sort of almost like a Souls-like in some ways, or almost any other single-player game with optional co-op, you playing that carefully and not using your resources right does not really impact anyone else. Don't worry about your buttons, so make sure the GCD is rolling. What? Maybe next time, Emir. Maybe next time. I might not do streams like this on this specific time every time. So it might not be a case of, well, I can never show up on this time, so I'll never be able to join. It's just what I felt made sense. Since I got carried through Strangers of Paradise, you're welcome. We had fun. As I said, Emia, it's probably not going to be only Thursdays. But it might vary. There's also the part that there's nothing preventing you from, who knows, maybe other people want to do some off-stream mount farms in the community. Thank you for joining, Rust. Mount farm streams on Sundays again. Eventually. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh, that makes sense, Norris, and that is indeed very good advice. That's also the thing, is that the sheer amount of OGCDs that we have that do a lot of damage these days does start to make it a little difficult to claim that, but I would still say that for the most part, most jobs do the vast majority of their damage with their GCD. So just keeping that rolling at the potential cost of OGCDs not going out on time, pretty much always more important. Viper autos, yeah, 10% of your DPS, auto attacks. But yeah, once you realize that like a lot of sprouts view Final Fantasy XIV as perhaps an RPG to play through and enjoy, long before they look at it as an MMO. And they don't care that much about optimization. It's fine if a dungeon takes 3 times longer than normal. As long as they're having fun, that's good enough. But it can be a little confusing for those that have played the game for years. And especially because a lot of players, a lot of gamers in general, not just Final Fantasy XIV, but gamers forget that everyone was new at some point. Like, that's the particularly funny thing when people are like, oh, well, I mean, this content is easy. Yeah, but if you took a sprout that has never played an MMO like Final Fantasy XIV before and just drop them in, like, I don't know, Lunar Subterrane, like the final dungeon of Endwalker, they're probably going to die. Almost certainly. A lot. Even if the rest of the group can carry them, but what if you had 4 of them? 4 sprouts that have never done it before, they just get dumped in Lunar Subterrane. They might not finish. And yeah, that is true, Norris, and that is of course what circles back to what I said before, that even though that is an incredibly long journey, like exactly, that's not just 100 hours in, it's like hundreds of hours in for most players. Like, when I was doing the MSQ through on my old Smolkai, I finished like 6.3 or 6.4 MSQ in under 300 hours. Like, I pretty much just full speed, almost exclusively MSQ, and like the stream after I had finished it, I lost the sprout icon because I passed 300 hour mark. So yeah, it is a very long journey. But that's also the thing, is that we don't know how long their journey was. Like, in real life numbers. Like, think about it. Endwalker was like... was it 2.5 years? Someone could, and I'm speaking from experience on this because Smolkai, could complete the MSQ of all of Final Fantasy XIV in Endwalker by playing like 6 hours a week. In all of Endwalker. 6 hours a week. Possibly less. It definitely less, because I'm pretty sure it took me less than half of Endwalker to reach that point. So like 3 hours a week, you could do it. If you played Final Fantasy XIV for a grand total of 3 hours a week, like, if that was like the time you had to game, like, you're a parent, you have a full-time job, you have 3 hours. You might be focused more on progressing as long as you can over sitting down and watching a guide on how it's done. As long as you're progressing, right? Like, as soon as we start to like check these other perspectives, it might make more sense. But that doesn't necessarily excuse that someone is like basically complete garbage at the game by level 80. It's a little shocking. And I think the real problem there is that for a player that doesn't have that much time to play, they might be motivated to learn more if it was clearly necessary. Which is like the key here. If it isn't necessary, then why bother? So, like, the game needs to be a little more, like, it demand a little bit more of the players earlier on, perhaps. That would help. But that's just, like, as I said, I'm just trying to put into, like, try to give a perspective of how and why these kind of players exist on the way. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's totally fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, as long as we clear the boss, that's fine. It's mildly annoying. Like, that's what it, like, where it peaks for me. Mildly annoying that it takes a lot longer because they're, like, not doing their part. But I was, like, everyone was a Sprout once. I just happened to already understand the basics because I had played WoW for, like, 15 years. And then came to Final Fantasy XIV. So I was like, oh yeah, always be casting. That's kind of a given. It probably should have a returner status that's longer than the current one that requires you to hold the novice again. Well, see, the weird thing, Norris, is that the game doesn't require you to hold the novice at all. Iona says, my husband played only a few hours a day and did Stormblood to beginning. The post... I'm guessing you're saying Stormblood. Did Stormblood to beginning of post Stormblood in like a month or so, with breaks every so often. I mean, Hall of the Novice could be really good to like get a fresh up, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to like make it more prominent. The problem is, if you make it mandatory, then players will just find it annoying and see it as an obstacle, not as a teaching moment. Which means if you have like a Hall of the Novice test that is trying to teach you something but you don't understand it, like if it's trying to teach someone who's never played an MMO like Final Fantasy XIV before about ABC, always be casting, and they don't understand what they're trying to be told, like what they're told, they'll just find it annoying, and they might ask for help, and they might not understand the help, they might also not ask for help, they might beat the tutorial somehow without actually learning the lesson by just clicking buttons. Which is why I don't think it might help super much to make them mandatory, but it would help to make them more front and center. Let's not forget, Hall of the Novice doesn't even say that you get the brand new ring for doing it. Like, it doesn't even say that it has that reward at the end of the tunnel. If they had, like, this big pop-up, like, you know how when you unlock your first dungeon nowadays, it actually gives, like, this huge pop-up with, like a few sections you have to click through and then click OK that you understood it or something. You don't have to read it. It's like terms of agreement. You just click yes, right? But it's there. They could have like a big pop-up with the brand new ring going, you know, if you do this, you will be given this. And it's pretty obvious that the brand new ring is really good at level 15. It's amazingly good at level 15. Are they not doing an update for for Hall of the Novice or something in 7.1? Yes, they're adding some new stuff to it. Finally. As long as they're having fun, Darth, I guess that's the best they can get. And yeah, I think we've talked about this before. The game never explains the difference between a GCD and an OGCD, which is particularly problematic in certain tutorials. Anyone remember the Viper tutorial? Like, the first quest as Viper? They kind of just go, yeah, just press buttons, use this specific action, and you're like... If you don't actually understand Viper, then you will eventually, like, if you just actually press buttons, you will randomly do it, eventually. They don't really explain how you use your OGCDs, the death rattle and all that. And just go, use this button. They don't explain that it's important that you use death rattle between your GCDs and things like that. But I mean, Emia, you're asking right now, like right after people did some farm. Maybe next time. Also, by the way, Emia, you have improved a lot on the game. Don't trick yourself into thinking otherwise. You have improved a lot on the game since you started. Absolutely. Yureen, yes, use your positionals, but the mobs all... Yeah, exactly, they have the closed circles that mean your positionals mean nothing. Nice tutorial. And the reason why, by the way, the reason why... I might actually have that somewhere here still. Maybe I removed it. I guess I might. I actually had, like, the days before Dawntrail, I actually made like a notepad document on both Viper and Pictomancer, just detailing how they work, which means that on release day, I already knew, well, this does this, this does this, this does this, this does this, and just put them down on my hotbar. The only reason why it was that easy for me was because I had already gone through reading all of the tooltips and putting, like, 2 plus 2 together. But if I hadn't done that, I would probably also have been very confused. Iona says, I still don't understand Vicemind and Vice Pit. When you say you don't understand, how do you mean? Like you don't know when to use it? I would say that better than average is good. Not when to use it. Well, simply put, the Vicewinder combo represents a slightly faster way to set up one of your buffs, not both, in your opener. Once the opener's over, Vicewinder and the rest of the combo, and also Vice Pit for that matter, represent a decent uptick in damage, so you kind of want to use them on cooldown. The only exception being that because they give you a rattling coil for your Uncoiled Furies, there could be select cases where you might want to hold one charge of Vicewinder so that you can spend a rattling coil on Uncoiled Fury and then use Vicewinder again. So like restock. But overall, it's as simple as, well, you use it on cooldown. It used to be complicated back when it was Dreadwinder, because you had to, like, make sure that you got all the Noxious Nash value out of it. But now, it's the damage button. It's the damage. It's also a good way to refresh your buffs, but generally speaking, you would usually prefer to set up your speed buff like this. And then, you can do Vicewinder, which is a slightly faster way to set up your damage bonus. And then you can go from there. But yeah, it's reasonably simple. I'm guessing the reason why it's confusing is actually because of that. There was actually something that I brought up in a video I made a while ago called That Hollow Feeling. That there's some Vipers, me included, had issues remembering to use Vicewinder now that there was no longer a reason to do it. Like a specific reason to do it. You just kind of click it, instead of having like a specific purpose. And now the purpose is basically it does more damage than your filler combo, which is not that amazing. I hope that helps, Iona. I don't know if you even were interested in the information, but now you have it. Thank you, Aradil. Talon says adding something in that teaches AoE on 3 or more might be nice. See, actually, the problem there, Kylan, is that would have been amazing in Endwalker, because nearly all jobs were balanced perfectly so that basically all of their AoE was better on 3 or more targets. But in Dawntrail, a lot of jobs, is it like 4? There's somewhere like specific case it's 5 and some are 2. Louis says, does it still do? I asked because I read it twice and I don't see it. Was it changed? So, I might have the old tooltip lying around. This is how it used to read. So the way it works now is it does damage, it gives you a rattling coil, and then it leads into the step 2, like the other combo steps. Before, it did damage, applied a debuff that the Noxious Gnash could stack up to 40 seconds, and it added 20 seconds to it, or applied it if it wasn't there. But because Dreadwinder did more damage than Dread Fangs, you would rather have Dreadwinder refresh it rather than apply it, because you would not get 10% damage bonus on Dreadwinder if it wasn't already active. And then it also gave a rattling coil. But aside from that, it's the same. So like the difference between when Viper was released and now is that when it was released, you would use like in the opener's the same up to like ultimately speaking, but you would set up Noxious Gnash, and then from that point on, every time you finished a 1-2-3 combo, you would go, do I use Steel Fangs or Dread Fangs? And if Dreadwinder was available, and like, well, basically you would go, do I start a Steel Fangs combo, do I need to refresh Noxious Gnash? If Noxious Gnash was under 20 seconds, you might consider refreshing it, unless Dreadwinder was available, in which case you would use Dreadwinder instead for that. And there was also the argument that, well, if Dreadwinder is almost ready, then you could like use a Steel Fangs combo and then refresh with Dreadwinder, because Dread Fangs sucked quite a lot compared to Steel Fangs, which meant that every time you had to use Dread Fangs could be viewed as a small loss, but not if you had to. If you used Dread Fangs unnecessarily, that was a loss. Like, that was a waste. Yeah, that is probably the reason. Yeah, the reason why you use the Vicewinder combo, Iona, in broad strokes, the reason why you use the Vicewinder combo is the same reason why you use Drill on a Machinist. Because it do more damage. It's the same reason you use well, ultimately, the reason why you use your Fire Magic as a Black Mage, because it do more damage. Like, that's the reason why you use Vicewinder now. It also generates a resource, but that's not, like, that's like a bonus. Like, you use the resource, you want to use the resource, but the reason you're using Vicewinder is because it does more damage than your filler combo. Right then, this might also be a good time to to wrap up the stream then. So, if you enjoyed this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm this was an enjoyable stream. You'd like other people to enjoy it as well. So, thank you so much for the support. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link in the chat. And there you will find the schedule where you can see what else is coming up on the channel in the coming days. You will also find the announcement room where you'll see links to videos and streams when they come out. And if you grab the reminder roll on in the roll assignments room, you will get a notification when I post a video or a stream, so you catch them right when they come out. You also get an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when I go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, you can become a member of the channel, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chats, or if you don't want to use any of the YouTube options, there's also a Ko-Fi link in the description. It all supports me and the channel directly, so I can do stuff like this for all of you to enjoy. So thank you all so much for the support. I think that'll be all for me tonight. So, thank you all for the interesting conversations. I hope you learned something, I hope you had fun. And good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye.